You feel like something is off, but you can't quite name it. You wake up every day with a strange sense of disconnection, as if you're living a life that doesn't truly belong to you. Maybe you've already tried everything: therapy, self-help books, advice from friends, and yet the emptiness remains. It's that uncomfortable feeling, like you're walking a path that leads nowhere, a path that doesn't reflect who you really are. And here's the truth no one ever told you. You are not broken. You're simply off course. You've drifted away from your true nature. Carl Gustav Jung, one of the greatest minds in the study of human psychology, believed that every person is born with an inner map, what he called the map of the soul, an invisible, intuitive guide that points us toward our most authentic self. But there's a problem. Almost no one is ever taught how to read that map. Instead, we're raised to follow the maps of others, those of society, family, and culture. So we make choices that don't reflect who we are. We stay in relationships that drain us. We wear masks to fit into roles that were never meant for us. Over time, this internal misalignment becomes pain. It becomes longing. It becomes numbness. But this map of the soul isn't just a poetic idea. It's real. Jung devoted his life to exploring it, diving deep into the hidden realms of the human psyche. Archetypes, the unconscious, the shadow, the self. And what he discovered is both unsettling and liberating. Most of our suffering doesn't come from random misfortune or bad luck. It comes from ignoring that inner map, from living on the surface instead of in alignment with our inner world, from following imposed patterns instead of answering the call of the soul. If you feel lost, directionless, like you're drowning despite trying your best to swim, this message is for you. Because I won't offer you a magic fix. I will offer something far more powerful. A return to what's already within you. The truth is, your soul has been speaking to you for a long time, through your dreams, through your crises, through moments of silence so heavy, they feel like thunder. The only problem? You haven't yet learned how to listen. Jung believed that this emptiness, this confusion, this quiet ache, is not a flaw. It's an invitation to embark on the most important journey of your life. The journey of individuation. The journey of coming home to yourself. So if you're tired of pretending that everything's fine when inside it's falling apart, if you're exhausted from trying to be who you're not, know this: you are not alone, and you are not broken. Your pain is not a malfunction. It's a message, a signal, a calling. And if you're brave enough to answer it, if you're willing to dive deep and face the unknown within yourself, you'll discover something remarkable. What you thought was weakness was simply misdirection. What you feared was darkness was actually the first spark of your own inner light. Now, imagine this. Inside of you lies a vast and mysterious landscape. Symbolic forests, emotional cliffs, forgotten mountains of ancient wisdom, rivers flowing with fear and desire. What if this territory could be explored? What if it could be mapped? This is what Jung gave us. A map of the human soul, not drawn with logic or satellites, but with myths, symbols, dreams, and suffering. According to Jung, the soul isn't a chaotic mess of random thoughts. It has a structure, a shape, a center. It contains the self, the persona, the shadow, and internal archetypes representing the masculine and feminine forces within us, what he called the anima and animus. It's from the tension between these inner elements that our wounds, desires, patterns, and potential are born. Your ego, the you think you are, is just a starting point. It believes it's in control, but in truth, it's like a traveler who wakes up lost in the woods without a compass. And that's why so many people feel adrift. They try to make decisions based on a self that isn't rooted in anything real. They live disconnected from the very depths that could save them. Jung discovered this through his own journey inward, studying his dreams, visions, and inner symbols. And the more he observed, the more he noticed repeating patterns, universal images that appeared not only in his own mind, but in the dreams of his patients, in ancient myths, in religious texts, fairy tales, and great works of art. He called them archetypes, the basic language of the soul. These archetypes are ancient internal landmarks that guide us through the great cycles of human experience. Birth, death, love, loss, transformation. Every one of us walks this path differently, but we all pass through the same inner gateways. But Jung's map wasn't made just for understanding. It was made for transformation. The process is called individuation, the central journey in Jungian psychology. It's not about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. It's the movement from a fragmented, reactive ego to an integrated self. The self is not an idea. It's a lived reality. Individuation means you stop living as a bundle of automatic habits and start living from your true center. It means freeing yourself from masks, facing your shadow, listening to your unconscious. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. But it's the only path to a meaningful life. When you ignore the map of your soul, life turns into a cycle of mistakes, repeated pain, and unending confusion. But when you begin to understand it, even in pieces, things change. Every symptom becomes a message. Every emotion becomes a compass. Every crisis becomes a doorway. Because the soul doesn't scream, it whispers. And those who can't hear its whisper eventually hear the body scream. Through anxiety, burnout, depression, illness. Now that you understand the soul has a map, you may be wondering, where am I on it? How do I know if I'm moving toward my true self or away from it? Jung compared the psyche to a house, full of rooms, hidden staircases, forgotten basements. But most people live their entire lives in a single, small room, never daring to explore the rest. They skim the surface of themselves, unaware of the forces moving in their depths. Let's start with the room most people know best. The ego. The ego is the center of your conscious mind. It's the I you identify with. It helps you function in everyday life, but it's limited. It's only a small piece of your total being, surrounded by forces it can't control or even comprehend. Beneath the ego lies the personal unconscious, the realm of repressed memories, forgotten wounds, and hidden desires. It's also home to complexes, emotionally charged patterns that influence your behavior, even when you think you're choosing freely. Ever found yourself repeating the same mistake over and over again? Attracting the same toxic relationship, even when you swore it would be different this time? That's the personal unconscious at work. But Jung went further. He discovered an even deeper layer, the collective unconscious, a vast field shared by all human beings. Within it live the archetypes, the hero, the mother, the sage, the child, the rebel, the lover. They aren't just characters. They're living energies that shape your dreams, your fears, your instincts. They are ancient templates woven into your very psyche. And between the ego and the self, the deep, organizing center of your being, are three core structures that shape how you relate to yourself and the world. The persona. the mask you wear to fit in. The shadow, everything you hide, repress, or deny. The anima animus, the inner feminine and masculine energies. The persona is the social mask you wear, the role you play to survive and be accepted. Maybe it's the responsible daughter, the competent professional, the good partner. It's useful, but dangerous, because the more you identify with the mask, the more you forget who you really are underneath. The persona is clothing, the self is your skin. Never confuse the two. Then comes the shadow, the parts of you you'd rather not see. Your anger, jealousy, shame, resentment, but also your buried creativity, passion, power. Everything you repress doesn't disappear. It grows in the dark. Until you face it, it runs your life. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And then there are the inner opposites. For men, the anima is the inner feminine. Intuition, feeling, depth. For women, the animus is the inner masculine. Clarity, direction, assertion. These are not about gender. They're about balance. When we deny them, they control us from the shadows. When we integrate them, they become bridges to wholeness, helping us become more creative, conscious, and real. And at the deepest center of your soul is the self. Not your persona, not your roles, not your achievements, but the core of who you truly are. The self is your inner truth, your meaning, your compass, your peace. When you live far from the self, you feel disconnected, anxious, and empty. When you move toward it, your life regains purpose, clarity, and direction. The tragedy of our time is that we've been taught to live outwardly, to impress, to perform, to chase, but not to feel, to integrate, to understand. And that's why so many people live in conflict, stuck in the persona, running from the shadow, cut off from the self, not knowing their anima or animus even exist. But now you know. And once you know, you can't unknow. This is the beginning of the path back home, not to who you were told to be, but to who you actually are. Your map has always been with you. You just needed the courage to unfold it.